I never thought I'd be standing at my father's funeral alone while my husband was off gallivanting with his mistress. Just a few short years ago, life seemed perfect. Liam and I met through my father, who was his mentor at work. Dad always spoke highly of Liam, praising his intelligence and work ethic. When Liam asked me out, I was thrilled. Our courtship was a whirlwind of romantic dinners, long walks in the park, and endless conversations about our hopes and dreams. We married within a year, and my father couldn't have been happier. He loved Liam like a son and was overjoyed to see us build a life together. But then, everything changed. Dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and given just 3 months to live. I was devastated, but I expected Liam to be my rock, to support me through this difficult time. Instead, he grew distant and cold. He started staying late at work, claiming he had important projects to finish. When I begged him to visit Dad with me, he always had an excuse. "I'm too busy," he'd say, his eyes glued to his phone as he typed out another text. I confided in my best friend Olivia about my marital problems. She listened patiently as I poured out my heart, tears streaming down my face. "I don't know what to do," I sobbed. "Liam is like a different person. He's so selfish and uncaring. It's like he doesn't even love me anymore." Olivia hugged me tightly. "I'm so sorry, Evelyn. You don't deserve this. Have you tried talking to him about how you feel?" I nodded miserably. "Every time I bring it up, he just shuts me down. He says I'm being too emotional, that I need to focus on my job and stop relying on him so much. He even had the nerve to complain about my salary as a teacher, saying I don't contribute enough to our household finances." Olivia's eyes flashed with anger. "That's awful, Evelyn. He has no right to treat you that way, especially not now." Despite my best efforts, Liam remained unmoved. When Dad started an experimental treatment, I hoped it might buy us more time together. I visited him alone, praying that Liam would have a change of heart, and for a brief moment, it seemed like he did. He agreed to visit Dad with me just once. But the entire time, he was glued to his phone, texting someone with a smirk on his face. He barely said 2 words to Dad, who looked so frail and weak in his hospital bed. A few days later, I received the call I'd been dreading. Dad had taken a turn for the worse. I rushed to the hospital, my heart pounding in my chest, but it was too late. He was gone before I arrived, leaving me heartbroken and alone. When I called Liam to tell him the news, he barely reacted. "I'm sorry for your loss," he said flatly, "but I can't make it to the funeral. I have a business trip." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My father, the man who had been like a second dad to him, was dead, and all he could think about was work. But the final blow came when I was leaving for the funeral. Liam pressed a $1 bill into my hand, a smirk on his face. "For the funeral expenses," he said, before walking away. I stood there, stunned, the crumpled bill in my hand. In that moment, something inside me snapped. I knew I could never forgive him for this ultimate betrayal, and I knew that somehow, some way, I would make him pay. As I stood at my father's graveside, the weight of my grief was almost unbearable. The only thing that kept me standing was the burning anger I felt towards Liam. How could he abandon me like this, in my darkest hour? How could he be so callous, so unfeeling? I barely registered the condolences of the other mourners, their words washing over me like a distant tide. All I could think about was the way Liam had treated me, the way he had betrayed my father's memory. I clutched the $1 bill he had given me, my fingers trembling with rage. After the funeral, I returned home to an empty house. Liam was still away on his business trip, and I couldn't bear the thought of being alone with my thoughts. I called Olivia, my voice shaking as I asked her to come over. When she arrived, I collapsed into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably. "I can't do this anymore," I choked out. "I can't be married to a man who treats me like this." Olivia rubbed my back soothingly. "I know, honey. I'm so sorry you're going through this, but you're not alone. I'm here for you, no matter what." We sat together on the couch, sipping tea and talking for hours. Olivia listened patiently as I poured out my heart, my anger and grief spilling out in equal measure. "I just don't understand how he could be so cruel," I said. "My father loved him like a son, and this is how he repays him?" Olivia's eyes narrowed. "You know, Evelyn, I've been thinking. What if there's more to this than meets the eye? What if Liam is hiding something from you?" I frowned. "Like what?" "Like an affair," Olivia said bluntly. "It would explain why he's been so distant, why he's always on his phone, and why he didn't want to visit your dad in the hospital." I felt like I had been punched in the gut. An affair? Could it be true? I thought back to all the late nights at work, the secretive texts, the way Liam had pulled away from me. It all started to make a twisted kind of sense. "But how can I know for sure?" I asked, my voice trembling. Olivia leaned forward, her eyes glinting with determination. "We hire a private investigator. We find out the truth once and for all, and then we make him pay for what he's done to you." I hesitated for a moment, my mind reeling. Did I really want to go down this path? Did I want to stoop to Liam's level to seek revenge? But then I thought of my father, of the way Liam had betrayed him. And I knew that I had no choice. "Okay," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Let's do it." The next few weeks passed in a blur. Olivia and I met with the private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop named Jack. He listened to my story with a sympathetic ear, his eyes hardening as I described Liam's behavior. "Don't worry, Mrs. Thompson," he said. "We'll get to the bottom of this, and if your husband is cheating on you, we'll catch him red-handed." I tried to go about my life as normally as possible, but it was hard. Every time Liam walked through the door, I felt a surge of anger and betrayal. I couldn't look him in the eye, couldn't bear to be in the same room as him. And still, he seemed oblivious to my pain, lost in his own selfish world. 2 months after my father's funeral, Jack called me with the news I had been dreading. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, his voice grave, "we have evidence that your husband is having an affair with a coworker named Sophia. I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but I thought you should know." I felt like the ground had dropped out from under me. So it was true. Liam had betrayed me in the worst possible way. And now I knew what I had to do. I had to make him pay for what he had done. I had to destroy him, just as he had destroyed me. The evidence of Liam's affair felt like a knife twisting in my gut. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything but the betrayal that had shattered my world. I went through the motions of my daily life, teaching my classes and grading papers, but inside I was a wreck. Liam, on the other hand, seemed completely unfazed. He continued to stay late at work, to spend hours on his phone texting God knows who. When he was home, he was distant and irritable, snapping at me over the smallest things. One evening, as we sat in stony silence at the dinner table, Liam finally spoke. "You know, Evelyn, I've been thinking, maybe it's time for you to quit your job and stay home full-time. It's not like you're contributing much to our finances anyway." I stared at him in disbelief. "Excuse me, I'm a teacher, Liam. I'm shaping young minds, making a difference in the world, and in case you've forgotten, my salary helps pay our bills." Liam snorted. "Please, you're barely making a dent. I'm the one bringing home the big bucks here, and frankly, I'm tired of coming home to a messy house and a wife who's too exhausted to take care of my needs." I felt my blood boil. "Your needs? What about my needs, Liam? What about the fact that I'm grieving the loss of my father and you can't even be bothered to support me? What about the fact that you're cheating on me with some bimbo from work?" Liam's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" I laughed bitterly. "Don't play dumb with me, Liam. I know all about your little fling with Sophia. I have proof." For a moment, Liam looked stunned. Then his face hardened. "You've been spying on me? How dare you?" "How dare I?" I shouted, rising to my feet. "How dare you betray me like this? How dare you disrespect my father's memory and our marriage vows? You're a selfish, lying bastard, and I'm done with you." Liam stood up too, his face twisted with rage. "You're done with me? Fine, but don't expect a penny from me in the divorce. I'll make sure you end up with nothing." I laughed again, a harsh, ugly sound. "You think I care about your money, Liam? You think that's what this is about? I loved you, you son of a bitch. I trusted you, and you threw it all away for some cheap thrill." Liam grabbed his coat and stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind him. I sank back into my chair, my body shaking with anger and grief. I knew then that there was no going back. My marriage was over, and the man I had once loved was dead to me. The next day, I called Olivia and told her everything. She listened in silence, her face growing darker with each revelation. When I finished, she took my hand and squeezed it tightly. "Evelyn, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine how much pain you must be in right now. But you're not alone in this. I'm here for you, and I'll support you every step of the way." I nodded, blinking back tears. "I know, Liv, and I'm grateful for that. But I need more than just support right now. I need revenge." Olivia's eyes widened. "Revenge? What do you mean?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what I was about to say. "I want to destroy Liam. Liv, I want to ruin his life just like he ruined mine. I want to take everything from him and leave him with nothing." Olivia was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Okay, if that's what you need to do, then I'm with you. But we have to be smart about this, Evelyn. We can't just go off half-cocked. I nodded, a grim smile spreading across my face. Oh, don't worry. I have a plan, and by the time I'm done, Liam will wish he had never met me. The next few weeks were a blur of hospital visits and hushed conversations with doctors. Dad's experimental treatment had started, but it was taking a toll on his already weakened body. He was in constant pain, and the medication made him groggy and disoriented. I spent every spare moment by his bedside, holding his hand and trying to keep his spirits up. Liam, on the other hand, was nowhere to be seen. He always had an excuse for why he couldn't come to the hospital. A big project at work, a client meeting, a networking event. It was like he couldn't be bothered to support me or my father in our time of need. One evening, as I sat by Dad's bedside, I finally broached the subject with Liam over the phone. Dad's not doing well, I said, my voice trembling. The doctors say the treatment is his last hope. I really need you here with me, Liam. I can't do this alone. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then Liam sighed heavily. Evelyn, I'm sorry, but I can't just drop everything and come to the hospital every time you snap your fingers. I have responsibilities at work, and I can't afford to take time off right now. I felt like I had been slapped. Responsibilities? Liam, this is my father we're talking about, the man who mentored you, who treated you like a son, and you can't even be bothered to visit him on his deathbed. Liam's voice turned cold. Look, I'll try to stop by this weekend. Okay, but I can't make any promises. And frankly, Evelyn, I think you're being a bit dramatic about all this. Your father's a fighter. He'll pull through. I hung up the phone, my hands shaking with anger and disbelief. How could Liam be so callous, so unfeeling? Did he really care so little about me and my family? True to his word, Liam did stop by the hospital that weekend. But he might as well not have bothered. He spent the entire visit glued to his phone, texting and scrolling through emails. When I tried to engage him in conversation, he responded with monosyllabic grunts and shrugs. Dad, who was barely lucid, seemed to sense the tension between us. He reached out and grabbed Liam's hand, his grip surprisingly strong. Take care of my girl, Liam, he rasped, his eyes boring into my husband's. She's going to need you more than ever now. Liam nodded, a tight smile on his face. Of course, Jack. You can count on me. But as soon as we left the hospital room, Liam's demeanor changed. He pulled his hand away from mine and stalked off down the hallway, his eyes fixed on his phone screen. I had to jog to keep up with him. Liam, wait, I called out. Can we talk about this? About us? Liam spun around, his face twisted with annoyance. There's nothing to talk about, Evelyn. I came to the hospital, just like you asked. What more do you want from me? I stared at him, my heart breaking into a million pieces. I want you to be here for me, Liam. I want you to support me, to love me, to be the husband you promised to be when we got married. Liam rolled his eyes. God, Evelyn, you're so needy. I can't be your emotional crutch every time something bad happens. I have my own life, my own needs. And right now, those needs don't include sitting around a hospital room watching your father die. With that, he turned and walked away, leaving me standing alone in the hallway, tears streaming down my face. In that moment, I knew that my marriage was truly over. Liam had shown his true colors, and they were ugly and selfish and cruel. And I knew that I would never forgive him for abandoning me when I needed him most. The call came in the middle of the night, jolting me out of a restless sleep. It was the hospital, telling me that Dad had taken a turn for the worse, and that I needed to come right away. I stumbled out of bed, my heart pounding in my chest, and raced to the hospital as fast as I could. But I was too late. By the time I arrived, Dad was gone, his body still and lifeless on the hospital bed. I collapsed into the chair beside him, sobbing uncontrollably, my entire world shattered into a million pieces. I don't know how long I sat there, holding Dad's hand and crying until I had no tears left. At some point, a nurse came in and gently told me that I needed to leave, that they had to prepare Dad's body for the funeral home. I nodded numbly and stumbled out of the room, my legs barely able to support my weight. I called Liam on the way home, my voice thick with tears. Dad's gone, I choked out. He passed away before I could get to the hospital. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then Liam sighed heavily. I'm sorry for your loss, Evelyn. But I told you, I have a business trip this weekend. I can't just cancel it at the last minute. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. A business trip? Liam, my father just died. I need you here with me, not off schmoozing with clients. Liam's voice turned cold. Evelyn, I have responsibilities at work. I can't just drop everything because your father passed away. You're going to have to handle this on your own. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Handle it on my own? Liam, I'm your wife. We're supposed to support each other through things like this. How can you be so heartless? Liam sighed again, like I was being unreasonable. Look, I'll try to make it back for the funeral, okay? But I can't promise anything. And frankly, Evelyn, I think you're overreacting. People die all the time. It's a part of life. I hung up the phone, my hands shaking with anger and disbelief. How could Liam be so callous, so unfeeling? Did he really care so little about me and my family? The day of the funeral arrived, and I woke up to an empty bed. Liam had already left for his business trip, leaving me to face the day alone. I dressed mechanically, my mind numb with grief, and drove to the funeral home in a daze. The service was a blur of tearful eulogies and somber hymns. I sat in the front row, my eyes fixed on Dad's casket, barely registering the words being spoken. Olivia sat beside me, holding my hand tightly, her presence the only thing keeping me from falling apart completely. After the service, I stood by the casket, accepting condolences from friends and family. Liam was nowhere to be seen, and I felt a fresh wave of anger and betrayal wash over me. How could he abandon me like this, on the worst day of my life? As I was leaving the funeral home, Liam's car pulled up beside me. He rolled down the window and held out a single dollar bill, a smirk on his face. For the funeral expenses, he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. I stared at him in disbelief, my grief giving way to pure, unadulterated rage. I snatched the dollar bill from his hand and crumpled it in my fist, my eyes blazing with fury. You bastard, I hissed. How dare you show your face here after everything you've done? How dare you disrespect my father's memory like this? Liam's smirk only widened. Oh, come on, Evelyn. It's just a joke. Lighten up a little. I shook my head, my voice trembling with anger. No, Liam, this is the last straw. I'm done with you, and I'm done with this marriage. I want a divorce. Liam's face hardened. Fine, but don't expect a penny from me, Evelyn. I'll make sure you end up with nothing. I laughed bitterly. I don't want your money, Liam. I want my life back, and I'm going to get it one way or another. With that, I turned and walked away, the crumpled dollar bill still clenched in my fist. I knew that the road ahead would be hard, but I also knew that I was strong enough to survive it. And I knew that I would make Liam pay for what he had done, no matter what it took. The weeks after Dad's funeral passed in a haze of grief and anger. I went through the motions of my daily life, but inside I was a wreck, consumed by thoughts of Liam's betrayal and my own desire for revenge. I knew that I couldn't let him get away with what he had done, but I didn't know where to start. One evening, as Olivia and I sat on my couch, sipping wine and trying to make sense of everything that had happened, she turned to me with a serious expression on her face. Evelyn, I've been thinking, she said. If Liam is really having an affair, we need to find out the truth. We need to hire a private investigator. I stared at her, my heart pounding in my chest. A private investigator? Liv, I don't know if I can afford that. Olivia shook her head. Don't worry about the money, Evelyn. I'll help you pay for it. This is important. We need to know what Liam is up to, so we can use it against him in the divorce. I hesitated for a moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, let's do it. The next day, Olivia and I met with Jack, the private investigator she had found. He was a gruff, no-nonsense kind of guy, with a hard face and a piercing gaze. He listened carefully as I told him about Liam's behavior, about the late nights at work, and the secretive texts, and the way he had abandoned me at Dad's funeral. I'll look into it, Jack said when I had finished. If your husband is cheating on you, Mrs. Thompson, I'll find out, and I'll get you the evidence you need to nail his ass to the wall. I felt a surge of hope and determination at his words. Finally, someone was on my side. Someone who understood what I was going through and was willing to help me fight back. For the next 2 months, Jack worked tirelessly on my case, tailing Liam and gathering evidence of his affair. Every week, he would meet with me and Olivia, showing us photos and recordings of Liam and his mistress, a young woman named Sophia who worked at his company. I felt sick to my stomach every time I saw them together, laughing and touching and looking at each other with lust in their eyes. But I also felt a fierce sense of satisfaction, knowing that I had the proof I needed to destroy Liam once and for all. Finally, Jack called me with the news I'd been waiting for. Mrs. Thompson, I have everything I need, he said. Your husband has been having an affair with Sophia for months, and I have the evidence to prove it. It's time to confront him and take him down." I felt a rush of adrenaline at his words. This was it. This was my chance to make Liam pay for what he had done, to take back my life and my dignity. I called Olivia and told her the news, my voice shaking with excitement and nerves. "It's time, Liv," I said. "It's time to take that bastard down." Olivia let out a whoop of joy. "Hell yes, it is. What's the plan?" I took a deep breath, my mind racing with possibilities. And then it hit me. Liam's company was holding their annual gala in 2 weeks, a black tie event where he was set to receive a major award for his work. It was the perfect opportunity to expose him in front of all his colleagues and clients, to humiliate him the way he had humiliated me. "The gala," I said, my voice steady and determined. "We're going to confront him at the gala, in front of everyone. We're going to show them all what a lying, cheating scumbag he really is." Olivia was silent for a moment, then let out a low whistle. "Damn, Evelyn, that's bold. Are you sure you're ready for that?" I nodded, my jaw set with resolve. "I'm ready, Liv. I'm done letting Liam control my life. It's time to take back what's mine and make him pay for what he's done, and I'm going to do it in front of the whole damn world." The day of the gala arrived, and I woke up with a sense of calm determination. This was it. This was the moment I had been waiting for, the chance to finally make Liam pay for what he had done. I spent the morning going over the evidence with Jack and Olivia, making sure we had everything we needed to take Liam down. As I got ready for the event, I couldn't help but feel a sense of nervous excitement. I had bought a stunning red dress for the occasion, one that hugged my curves and made me feel powerful and confident. I did my hair and makeup with care, wanting to look my absolute best when I confronted Liam in front of everyone. When I arrived at the gala, I was struck by the opulence of the event. The ballroom was decorated with glittering chandeliers and elaborate floral arrangements, and the guests were all dressed to the nines in tuxedos and gowns. I scanned the room, looking for Liam, and spotted him near the stage, chatting and laughing with a group of his colleagues. I made my way over to him, my heart pounding in my chest. As I approached, Liam turned and saw me, his eyes widening in surprise. "Evelyn," he said, his voice tight. "What are you doing here?" I smiled coldly. "I'm here to support my husband, of course. Isn't that what a good wife does?" Liam's face hardened. "I thought I made it clear that I didn't want you here tonight." I shrugged. "Too bad. I have every right to be here, Liam. After all, we're still married, aren't we?" Just then, I saw Sophia approaching from across the room, a smug smile on her face. She was wearing a tight black dress that left little to the imagination, and I felt a surge of anger and disgust at the sight of her. "Liam, darling," she purred, slipping her arm through his. "Who's this?" I stepped forward, my eyes blazing with fury. "I'm his wife, you little slut, and I have something to say to both of you." Liam's face turned red with anger. "Evelyn, don't you dare." But I cut him off, my voice ringing out loud and clear across the ballroom. "Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? I have an important announcement to make." The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to me. I took a deep breath, then held up the folder of evidence that Jack had given me. "My husband, Liam Thompson, has been having an affair with his coworker, Sophia, for months. I have proof of their relationship, including photos, recordings, and witness statements. Liam has been lying to me, to his colleagues, and to his clients, and it's time for the truth to come out." There was a collective gasp from the crowd, and I saw Liam's face turn pale with shock and fear. Sophia's mouth dropped open, and she took a step back, her eyes darting around the room. I continued, my voice shaking with emotion. "Liam, you have betrayed me in the worst possible way. You abandoned me when I needed you most, when I was grieving the loss of my father. You gave me $1 for his funeral expenses, like it was some kind of sick joke. And all the while you were sleeping with this woman behind my back, making a fool out of me and our marriage." I turned to Sophia, my eyes narrowed with contempt. "And you, Sophia, how dare you come between a husband and wife? How dare you steal another woman's man and flaunt it in her face like it's something to be proud of? You're nothing but a homewrecker and a whore." The room erupted into chaos, with people shouting and pointing and whispering to each other. I saw Liam's boss approaching, his face red with anger, and I knew that Liam's career was over. He would be fired, disgraced, and humiliated, just like he deserved. I turned to leave, my head held high, but Liam grabbed my arm, his fingers digging into my skin. "You bitch," he hissed. "You've ruined everything. I'll make you pay for this. I swear to God. I yanked my arm away, my eyes blazing with triumph. You already have, Liam. You ruined our marriage, our life together. And now I'm going to ruin you. Goodbye, Liam. I hope you rot in hell. And with that, I walked out of the ballroom, feeling like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I had done it. I had gotten my revenge, and I had taken back my life. And I knew that no matter what happened next, I would never let anyone hurt me like that again. The fallout from the gala was swift and brutal. Liam was fired from his job the next day, his reputation in tatters. His clients abandoned him, his colleagues shunned him, and his once promising career was reduced to ashes. I watched from a distance as he spiraled into despair, drowning his sorrows in alcohol and self-pity. But I had no sympathy for him. He had brought this on himself with his lies and his betrayals and his cruelty. He had destroyed our marriage, our life together, and he deserved to suffer the consequences. I filed for divorce the next week, citing irreconcilable differences. Liam didn't even bother to contest it, too broken and defeated to put up a fight. I hired the best divorce attorney in town, determined to get every penny I was entitled to. In the end, I walked away with a generous settlement, including the house, the car, and a sizable chunk of Liam's assets. He was left with nothing but his shame and his regrets, a shell of the man he had once been. I moved into a new apartment, determined to start fresh and put the past behind me. Olivia helped me decorate, filling the space with bright colors and cheerful art. We spent long hours talking and laughing, marveling at how far I had come and how much I had overcome. But even as I tried to move on, Liam couldn't let go. He started calling me late at night, drunk and rambling, begging me to take him back. He showed up at my apartment, pounding on the door and screaming my name until the neighbors called the police. He sent me long, rambling emails, filled with apologies and promises and pleas for forgiveness. I deleted them all without reading them. My heart hardened against him. I had given him everything, and he had thrown it all away. I had no room in my life for his lies and his manipulations anymore. One day, as I was leaving my apartment, I found Liam waiting for me on the street, his eyes bloodshot and his clothes rumpled. He stumbled towards me, his hands outstretched, his voice slurred with drink. "Evelyn," he mumbled. "Please, I'm sorry. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I love you. I need you. Please give me another chance." I stared at him, my eyes cold and unforgiving. "You don't love me, Liam. You never did. You only loved yourself and what I could do for you. And now, you have nothing. No job, no money, no friends. You're pathetic." Liam's face crumpled and he fell to his knees, sobbing like a child. "Please, Evelyn. I'll do anything. I'll change. I'll be better. Just don't leave me alone." I shook my head, my voice firm and unyielding. "It's too late, Liam. You had your chance, and you blew it. I'm done with you. I'm moving on, and I'm never looking back." I stepped around him, my head held high, and walked away, leaving him crying on the sidewalk. I felt a sense of peace wash over me, a feeling of closure and resolution. I had faced my demons, and I had won. I was free. Months passed, and I settled into my new life. I focused on my job, my friends, and my own happiness. I started volunteering at a local women's shelter, helping other women who had been through similar struggles. I found a sense of purpose and fulfillment that I had never known before. And then, on the anniversary of my father's death, I visited his grave, a bouquet of flowers in my hand. I knelt down beside the headstone, my fingers tracing the letters of his name. "I did it, Dad," I whispered. "I got justice for you. I got justice for myself. And I'm going to be okay. I'm going to live my life to the fullest, just like you always wanted me to." I placed the flowers on the grave, then stood up, brushing the dirt from my knees. I took one last look at the headstone, then turned and walked away, my head held high, my heart full of hope and promise. I had survived the worst that life could throw at me, and I had come out stronger on the other side. And I knew that no matter what happened next, I would never let anyone break me again.